starting to feel like Formula One is I don't understand the rules.
The greatest Formula One champion of all time.
And Formula One is that it's like a traveling
circus of Spain
and adrenaline.
Except I am from Formula.
People know NASCAR, but people don't, because Formula One is like, it's a whole different thing.
Box and pick and firm, and welcome to the Redefined F1 show where we take American subtitles and put on the sport of Formula One. I am your host, Frederick Kernigan. With me, as always, my co-host, Michael Timmerman.
What's going on?
Today, we are previewing the Spanish Grand Prix, which is the sixth race of the 2022 Formula One season. How are you feeling about this race? You excited?
I am. This is typically an upgrade race. So some people kind of like to think of it as a re-season opening to kind of see where cars really are at.
Yeah, I think in years past, people have been a little hesitant for the Spanish Grand Prix just because the track usually doesn't help the cars, but I think this year's changes will at least produce some type of good racing.
This race is definitely going to kind of set whether the regulations are helping the racing or not.
Yeah, because I think the two tracks, maybe even three, depends on, I don't think it'll change Monaco, but Spain and France are notorious, snooze fest. So if those two tracks somehow produce great races, or at least better than what we've had in years past, I think that people will recognize this regulation as it working. However, we're not here to talk about the regs. We're here to talk about the Grand Prix itself. Before we get into that, actually, let's talk about the most recent Grand Prix, the Miami GP. We're going to go through our award winners. Our first winner for the Dale was Esteban Ocon. He ended up being the driver of the day.
For the Omaha, we have George Russell.
For the meme of the weekend, the Mark Sanchez Award, it's a back-to-back for your boy. I won with Lando Sacrifice and the Mick I Have Failed You memes.
The Mick I Have Failed You carried. That is definitely the one that won.
So when I first saw those two memes, I thought the Lando was the better meme, but I've changed my mind.
The Mick is definitely the better meme.
Yes.
For the Pete, Sir Pierre Gasly was the worst driver for his incidents with Lando Norris.
So should we call it the Pierre?
The Pierre?
No. And our last award, our big body, we have Sebastian Vettel as the winner of Miami Grand Prix's Big Body Award. Before we deep dive the storylines surrounding the Spanish GP, I think we should go ahead, like always, and look at the track. So, Timmy?
Yeah. So the track is 2.91 miles in length, or 4.67 kilometers. It's a 66 lap race with 16 turns, 2 DRS zones, 1 down the main straight, 1 in between turns 9 and 10. And the fastest lap was set by Max Verstappen in 2021 at a 118.15. And a fun fact for this track that I thought was very interesting is this circuit or track has the highest pole to win percentage at 74%.
What?
So,
really?
Yeah, meaning if you don't understand what that means, because I didn't at first, if the person that gets pole position in qualifying, 74% of them win the race.
With that kind of stat, you might hear like how it's pole to win. Other terms you might hear is lights to flag. That's, leading from lights all the way to the flag. So that's another way to say it. I didn't know that. I assumed Monaco would be pole to.
You would think so, but Monaco, surprisingly, middle of the pack.
Interesting.
At like a 50-40%.
I guess there's a decent amount of crashes, but I didn't.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting that this is the track that was the highest pole to win rate or percentage.
On to our storylines. We got 3 storylines that we would want you to focus on going into the Spanish Grand Prix. We have one universal, then Timmy and I will give our own. The universal storyline is that multiple teams, to be more accurate, 7 out of 10 of the teams are bringing upgrades. Some of them are bringing quote unquote major upgrades. Some of them are bringing upgrades to a handful of components. we'll go in order of constructor standings. We have Ferrari bringing upgrades, Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Alpha, Alpine, and Aston Martin bringing upgrades. So the three teams that aren't are AlphaTauri, Williams, and Haas.
I mean, hopefully this makes the race and the season more exciting. Teams are finally bringing more upgrades, finally improving the cars from what they had during preseasons. And I'm excited to see who increases their pace and who kind of stays the same. It's going to be hopefully it's a good shakeup.
You wanted to focus on the teams that would either increase or stay the same. I kind of want to, it's interesting to see what teams might take a step back, because a lot of the talking heads in Formula One are saying that with the budget cap now, it's different from years past. You can't just throw money at a problem and it'll magically go away. You actually have to be like, okay, guys, are we sure this is the upgrade that we should bring?
It's no longer pay to win.
Yeah. Tim and I were just talking about pay to win games.
F1 is no longer a pay to win game. Appreciate the patch.
It's still pay to enjoy though.
Yeah, big time.
But I think the most interesting team when it comes to like the teams with upgrades, in my opinion, would probably be Aston Martin, because other teams are bringing upgrades to both cars, or if they are bringing like upgrades to one specific car, like let's use Alpine for example, they it was only a small change. I think Alpine was just a floor and maybe a wing, but apparently from talks in the paddock, Aston Martin is bringing a whole like brand new car, B spec car for Lance Stroll.
Just for Lance Strolls?
Just for Lance.
What? I didn't know this. What the hell?
Yeah. Seb isn't getting it, and they're bringing basically a brand new car for Lance. So
the anger or the hatred for Lance just intensifies.
Yeah, it's crap. But I think that'll be the interesting one. I hope Seb, and this is the petty part of me, I hope Seb does better, just to be like, even with upgrades, you're still ass.
Yeah.
And then you can tell that to his dad, who's also Seb's boss. Be like, your son still ass.
I want him to place higher and then gritty on him and say that he's too small. You're like, you're too small, dog.
We need some NBA disrespect, like
I know that's what F1 is really missing, and probably why it doesn't have as big of audience in America.
In America, yeah.
You don't have showboating. You can't like finish the race and like do some crazy celebration. They don't allow donuts or anything.
You're too small, Seb. Yeah. You're too small.
We're all too small, bro. We're all like 5'6" out here.
Speaking of height, before we continue into the some more upgrade talk, I don't know if anyone or if you've watched the Grill the Grid where they try to guess the heights.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I didn't realize that Nando was that short.
I didn't either.
I thought he'd be middle of the grid, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, he's right above Yuki. I'm like, what?
Just slightly.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? But yeah. What upgrades are you interested in seeing?
Upgrades I'm interested in seeing is obviously, I think what everyone's looking forward to is Ferrari and Red Bull. Ferrari's upgrades are supposedly to help with their porpoising issues. Hopefully that allows them to carry more speed in the straight, which is where they're lacking versus Red Bull. And I think Red Bull's upgrades are more so aerodynamic type of fixes. So
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I've seen a little list of just, I don't know how accurate it is, but what their changes or upgrades will fix. I think you had mentioned it, Ferrari's focusing on porpoising mainly, but they're also bringing a new wing, and Ferrari and Red Bull are both focusing on weight saving.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Red Bull is more weight saving.
Yeah.
Which is only going to make them faster, which is crazy that they can go faster down the straights, which they've been killing everyone so far this year. So
I think for the most part, all the talk is on the big teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, even Mercedes is getting talks, seeing how their upgrades will, maybe they can join the fight rather than just watching outside. What was the Chris Brown once said, I don't know how you can hate from outside the club. You can't even get in. And so hopefully they can get in.
Yeah.
Going on to our next storyline is Timmy's storyline.
Yep. So I thought this was going to be the main storyline, but I guess because a lot of teams are bringing upgrades, that's more important than Carlos Sainz home Grand Prix. Like it's his and Fernando Alonso. I forget that there's two Spanish men.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's both their home races. They're not Charles, so they don't have a curse at home that I'm aware of. I'm excited to see if Carlos can continue his kind of bounce back, or if he kind of, I don't know, is there gravel in this track?
There is a lot of gravel. However, Carlos Sainz, he hasn't had a win, so he's never won here, but he's also in his past outings on this track, not too bad. So
not too bad.
It's not like one of his best tracks, but it's also not his worst. So maybe that'll help him. Plus the Ferrari upgrades.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't go into the gravel at home.
Maybe Ferrari upgrades, they should follow Aston Martin and only upgrade one car. But the only difference between Charles and Carlos's car would be that Carlos has like a broom to brush away any gravel. Like just put that on his front wing.
That's what I was gonna say. He needs a button on his steering wheel where he pushes it and like it changes the tires or something so he can get out of the gravel.
Dude, they should just put 4x4 on his F1 car.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Ferrari should be worried about.
What's Fernando's history here?
I think he's won, but let me double check. Fernando Alonso has actually won Spain twice, and I think he's podium one or two more times also. So tell you about my storyline instead. I think everyone should be focusing. This isn't really a Spanish Grand Prix headline. This is more like a headline that happened before the Spanish Grand Prix, but will be continuing throughout the season. Ferrari and Red Bull are starting to send shots at each other. Not like on track, because Max and Charles have been going back at it. It's more of the off-track political shots I'm talking about. So Ferrari sent the first shot by saying, yeah, Red Bull their upgrades are kind of like coming pretty quickly. Maybe they're running out of funds, And Matteo Binotto is like 75%. That's the number he threw out there. Helmut Marko came out and said, no, don't worry about it. We didn't even spend half of it. You guys are tripping. They're blowing smoke. And then Red Bull's first shot was Pirelli has a tire testing session that they go through. So the teams could help not only could the teams help Pirelli, but Pirelli could help the teams kind of understand the tire better. And Ferrari, it was their turn to be in the session, and they had two different floors. I think Christian Horner mentioned it, but he wasn't the first one to send a shot. They're like, hey, Ferrari, that's breaking the rules. The stipulations say that if you go to these tests, you have to use parts that you already have. And so Ferrari is like, we did. I don't know what you guys are tripping about. This is a floor from preseason testing. And so everyone was like, okay, still a little bit sus, but you pass the test, I guess. But yeah, so these teams are finally to start chirping at each other.
Yes, the actual real F1 drama.
Yes,
which fans love and want more of, and what Drive to Survive was kind of originally they're reporting and recording properly. Now they're like, screw this storyline, screw all these headlines and all this talk. We're gonna make our own stuff up because we're better. And it's like, dude, this is natural, organic drama. You have the two teams that are fighting for the championship, kind of doing a little chirpiness, and it's only gonna get more as like every race becomes even more important, because as you continue the season, every race increases in significance because you're running out of points, you're running out of opportunities. But I hope that this just continues and it just makes the season and the battle versus Max versus Charles even more interesting.
I wouldn't even consider it like chirping yet. It's more of like tattling on one another. It's like, say, if
Well, that's F1
yeah,
chirping. like every sport has their like different way of like talking. This is F1. It's like, hey, look, they're cheating. No, we're not. Don't look over here.
I think it's the evolution of the chirping. F1 seasons always start pretty cordial, like, hey, we're just all trying to race, we're all trying to have fun and win the trophy. And then it turns into, hey, they're cheating, go look at them. And then that turns into what Toto and Christian were doing and just sending shots at each other.
Michael. No, you can't do this, Michael.
And so this is the natural progression of the chirpiness. And so I think, like you're saying, or to add on to your point, later in the season, these teams are going to be less like nonchalant about it and be like, yeah, FIA, take a look at them. It'll be like, FIA, if you don't look at them now, I'm going to send my whole country on your ass. And so I'm excited to see where this beef goes. Those are our 3 storylines for the 2022 Spanish Grand Prix. Like always, we like to finish our preview episodes with our 3 piece predictions. I'm going to let Timmy give you guys a quick update on the score, just to hear him say who's in the lead.
The score is 6-5, soon to be 8-6. This guy.
Right now, it's just Timmy and I. In the future, we want you guys to participate. We'll choose 1 or 2, and we'll see how good you guys do against us.
I will be posting questions on our Instagram story at Redefined F1, asking for your predictions or pre-race.
Yes. But those are for future races. These are predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix. And like always, we'll go back and forth. My first prediction is that even with the upgrades coming to specifically his car, Lance Stroll is still going to Lance Stroll. And so he's going to struggle. I don't think he's going to make points. That's how I'm quantifying it, as he still struggles, doesn't score points.
I hope that hits.
No explanation needed.
That's all I need to say. I hope it hits. Okay, my first prediction. I believe the George Russell top 5 streak, the only driver that has finished top 5 in every race so far this season, will continue. I believe that the upgrades will help the pace of his car. And it was, I actually saw a graphic showing the average race pace of each team and how far they are behind Ferrari, because that's the number 1 team. And Mercedes is no man's land 3rd place. Like they're, yeah, I forgot the exact amount, but really far from Red Bull and not as far, but pretty far from McLaren. So I think George is going to once again finish in the top 5.
I think with the upgrades coming, it's going to help your prediction. And so I'm rooting for it because I like George Russell. I started off not liking him when I first got into F1, but the more I see and just the way he like conducts himself, he's slowly gaining a fan of me.
Yeah, a secret reason or a cherry on top is I love seeing LH44 scramble after every race. George Russell performs better than Lewis.
Like I said, I don't know if it was last episode or episode before, but there's no harder working fan in sports than a Lewis Hamilton stan when he's had a bad race.
It's not. It's the car. What about the past 8 years?
All the driver.
All Lewis, baby.
My second prediction is that the podium will be shared by 3 different teams. So no double podium for Red Bull or Ferrari.
For my second prediction, unfortunately, I don't think Carlos gets onto the podium at his home race.
Ooh.
I'm scared for the gravel, how much sand there is. And no, I don't think. I think he's going to finish the race. I just don't think that he will get onto the podium.
My last prediction. I don't really know how I feel about this. If this is a softball or kind of a reach, but Alfa Romeo is bringing upgrades, and I feel like the biggest beneficiary from those upgrades won't be Bottas because he's already proven that car can fight with the big dogs, but it'll be Guan Yu Zhou. Maybe make it a little easier, get rid of the starting problems, because there's been a bunch of races where he's overtaken a good amount, but it's literally because he has to fight back from the crap start that he had. So hopefully they get that fixed up and Zhou can score more points.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're referring to like early on in the season where he would qualify or he'd make Q3.
Yeah.
But then his start would just erase any work that he did on Saturday. And
I think Miami was his first I think it's the first time him not making it out of Q1.
Yes, I believe so this season.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's been doing a stellar job this whole season. So I'm hoping, and I'm definitely becoming a fan of him. I was a hater or doubter before the season, but now I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. There are two options for paid drivers. You're either a meme or you're a respectable driver.
That's fair.
So for my third prediction, I hope reverse psychology or like reverse whatever happens, because I've been predicting for Mick I was like, okay, he's going to get points. It's like, okay, he's going to make Q3. And none of those have happened. So now I'm hoping that this propels him or gets him the push into the points. But I with Haas not bringing any upgrades and 7 of the other 10 teams I don't think Mick comes close to the points. And his search for his first point will continue.
The only thing I could devil's advocate against, your reasoning with the other teams bringing upgrades, excuse me, is the fact that any track that Haas has performed well at has been a fast flowing track. And for the most part, the whole circuit itself is a pretty fast flowing circuit, except for the chicane, which everyone hates. So that's the only reason I can see Haas maybe performing.
And during preseason testing, which happened on this track, Haas were performing very, very well. So hopefully, like I said, I hope this one doesn't hit. Like this is the one I don't want to hit.
I also agree. But if it does hit.
So it's a win-win. If it doesn't hit, Mick gets points. If it does hit, I get a point.
Yeah.
So some Mick Michael is going to get a point.
So those are our 3-piece predictions. Like I said, or like we said before the segment, if you guys want to join in on the conversation, we'll be posting stuff on our Instagram and Twitter about it, mainly Instagram though. So yeah, feel free to throw in your predictions, see if you guys can beat us, see if you guys are just as bad as us. But with all that being said, you guys take it easy.
Explain the difference.
Yeah, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport.